Welcome everyone to the Bluebeam Studio demonstration for submitting comments for field plan reviews. First, just want to remind everyone that this is a demonstration where we are going to go over the basic Bluebeam Studio rules or provide you some tips and tricks for using Studio in the field plan review process. First thing we're going to talk about are some of the benefits of using Bluebeam Studio. The comments are submitted directly on the plans. This will help give designers a better understanding of what you're asking. Of course, having said that, you still need to provide comments that are complete and that clearly identify the issues and what actions need to be taken. It's a collaborative review where others can see your comments and you can see others' comments. And this is a benefit because you could see if someone made a comment on an issue, but they didn't realize it would create another type of change, you could add on to their comment. Or if someone made a comment that wasn't 100% correct, you could add on to their comment. So there's that benefit. Also, it should greatly reduce the number of duplicate comments. Another big benefit is once everything is said and done, we will provide the PDF of the red lines and the comments to the design team. And we believe this will be a huge benefit in responses that they can actually implement. Again, you know, picture's worth 1,000 words. So when they see those plans, it'll help them understand what's being asked and in turn improve implementation of the comments. Now, some of the requirements that you need to have to use Bluebeam Studio, you need version 2017 or newer. If you don't have version 2017 or newer, you can reach out to Design Policy. They are the ones that are in charge of updating and putting Bluebeam on your computer. So just reach out to them. You will need a Bluebeam Studio account, which we will go over how to do that, but you need to sign up for Bluebeam. And you will need a 9-digit Bluebeam Studio session ID number, which these will be provided in the field plan review schedule letters if the project is using Bluebeam. I'm about to turn it over to Tanisha to start showing you some tips and tricks on how to use Bluebeam Studio, but I wanted to let you know that currently engineering services is only using Bluebeam on small to medium sized projects, but eventually we will be implementing this for all projects. But we want you guys to get used to using Bluebeam, getting accustomed to it before we move on to larger projects. And with that, I will turn it over to Tanisha.
So how will you know that your project will be reviewed via Bluebeam Studio? First and foremost, when you receive the scheduling letter, your Bluebeam Studio session information will be provided on there. Typically, this is a 9-digit hyphenated number. In addition to this number, you may also receive a URL, so you can use either way to join the Bluebeam Studio session. Currently, our scheduling letters do indicate that you must use Bluebeam Review 2017 or newer on your computer. In addition to the scheduling letter, the Outlook meeting invite will also provide the Bluebeam Studio session information. That way, if you do not have access to the scheduling letter, you can still have access to the Studio session ID. Now let's move on to how to create a Bluebeam Studio account. Once again, this account is different from your typical GDOT account. This is an account that's made with Bluebeam so that you can access Studio. First and foremost, we're going to go over the Bluebeam Studio account creation in Bluebeam 2017. In this version, you will go to the tabs and click on your Studio icon, or you could press Alt-C to access the Studio tab. Once you access the Studio tab, you will notice that there is a Connect icon. Once you click on that, your login box will appear, at which point you will click on Create Account. In order to create an account, please just fill in all the boxes that are required. And when you get to the last box, the name box, we'll need you to enter your first and last name with a hyphen, and then you're adding either your GDOT office or the name of the company that you represent. This name will appear on the plans that you are marking up with your comment. Now in Bluebeam 2020, the creation is slightly different in that your logging box just has a different user interface. But the information you will provide is still the same. Your first and last name, then you'll add in your Bluebeam display name, which again is your first and last name with your GDOT office or the name of the company that you're representing, and then your email address and your password. Once you have created this account, that is all you have to do. You'll have to be able to sign into Bluebeam at any time you want to from any computer you need to that has Bluebeam installed on it. As I stated before, you will receive your session ID number. Each session that is created has a different randomly selected ID number. And once you receive it, you can use either of these two ways to join the studio session. Once again, on Bluebeam 2017, you'll go into the Studio tab and then click on the Join icon, at which point you can either type in the studio ID or cut and paste it from whether it be your scheduling letter or from your invite. The only difference between Bluebeam 2017 and Bluebeam 2020 is that instead of a join icon, you'll click on the plus button and then click join, at which point you will receive a dialog box similar to 2017, and you can follow the same steps, i.e. enter your 9-digit session ID number. Once you have done this and clicked OK, this will open Bluebeam Studio and take you to the session where you can provide your markups. Now, once you've started providing markups, if for any reason you need to leave, you must remember that you leave using the leave button. This will ensure that your comments are saved in the session. Now, if you've left a session, but you have not completed your review of that set of plans, you can always re-enter that session through clicking on the Join tab and then clicking on the session that you were just in. All your active sessions will appear in the joined list. Also remember that when you re-enter a session, you will always be taken to the last page or drawing that you are on, so you can continue exactly where you left off at. At this time, we'll go ahead and transition over to our Bluebeam Studio session, where we'll demonstrate the different tips and tricks, as well as the different functionalities of Bluebeam Studio. Okay, as you can see, I currently have my Bluebeam app open. For those of you who are using Bluebeam 2017, what you see may differ from what I am looking at. The user interfaces are more or less the same. So everything that you will see me demonstrate, you can do on yours as well. Now, as you can see from the upper right corner, I'm currently connected. That means I have been logged into Bluebeam. As we mentioned earlier, in Bluebeam 2020, it has the Add button, which if you click on this, you will give the option of joining a session. As I have already joined the Bluebeam demonstration session, I will just go ahead and click on. Now, as you can see, once I've joined the session, a number of items pop up. First, you have your status. While it is not a requirement to set your status, you can if you would like to. You can set it to reviewing or finished when you are done reviewing. In addition to this, you can also see all the individuals who are currently on your session. For example, currently, Walt Taylor and myself, Tanisha Georges, is currently within this session. Now, when you first open a session, as you can see, no documents are being shown on the screen. You will have to go to your documents list and click on the document that you would like to review at this time. For the purpose of this demonstration, I've put together a few sheets plan set that we can use to mark up just to show the functionalities of Bluebeam Studio. On the right-hand side, you'll see quick links to all of our markup tools. Now, while these are some of the tools that you will typically use when you're marking up plans for FPR, there are additional tools under the Tools tab that you can use. You can also edit your tool list by right-clicking and entering Customize. But for the time being, we'll use those that are typically used for our studio session markups. Also, if you move over to your left side, you can have the option of navigating via your bookmarks. This does come in handy when you have a larger set of plans. You can jump from each section as needed. In this case, we have 4 sections. So you can jump directly to those sections that you're looking for. So as I stated before, Walt Taylor has also joined the session, and he's going to help me to demonstrate the fact that while this is a collaborative review, once you place your comments in the session, in the plan set, no one else can edit your comments. They may add an additional comment box or notation, but they cannot edit what you have placed in there. So let's start off with the first typical item, which is a text box. When you click on your text box, you're provided these items that you can change. You can change the size of your text, the font, whether it's fill in the back of the text box, and the color of the outer lines. When you first start putting in comments, your letters are always going to be in red. Currently, we do not have a protocol in place based on your office, so we will prefer you to use red and keep it standard. But once you put in your text box, you can type in any comment you would like. As you see, currently, my font size is 8. I can adjust that size to make any comment visible. I can also zoom in on a particular location to make it easier to be seen. As I stated before, you can adjust your text box as needed. Now allow Walt to add in a notation. Now, what we do with a notation is that it similarly looks like a sticky note. It can be added at any location you would like. And whatever comment you placed in that sticky note, once it's added, it'll reduce back down to the sticky note size. But when you hover over it, it'll show up. Or if you click on it, as you can see, I'm going to hover over it. And what he wrote was test. It pops up. I can also click on it and see what he wrote. But again, I cannot manipulate his comments. I cannot add to them or take away from it. You have your option of your arrow, which is to identify a particular item. You also have your option of your call out. Now your arrow is just a simple line with an arrow. While your call out provides you with an arrow and a text box for you to provide information. One thing you will notice is that for all items that do not come standard with a text box, if you click on one of the dots at either end of that item, you will get a pop-up screen where you can also add a comment. Similar to your sticky note, when you move over your mouse over that item, that additional comment will come up. We also have our dimension. For example, if let's say the typical sections is missing a dimension, or if the dimension that's currently shown is incorrect, you can use the dimension. And then type in the length, width, or what have you that you need to add in. Similarly, you have your rectangle to identify location, your ellipse, and your cloud. They work in a similar manner. And just have a different look to them. And as previously stated, since these do not come with an actual text box, when you click on either one of these corner dots, your pop-up screen will appear. Now you also have your Cloud Plus. The Cloud Plus is literally exactly that. The cloud plus a text box. And as you can see, these are our typical comment items that you can use to identify an issue and to add a comment or request regarding a particular item. Now, the next item was something that Walt brought up earlier, is the fact that you can add images. A lot of times, many of you will go out in the field and walk the project's limits prior to the meeting. And at times you might take photographs of issues that you see that have not been translated into the plans themselves. In these situations, you can click on Add Image. Select whatever image you have on your computer for that purpose, and then click a location to place it. As you can see, I placed it in the gray area. Now, one thing that's very beneficial about Bluebeam is that at times you have very cluttered sheets, and there's little area to add in a comment. For each sheet, it has unlimited gray area around the sheet itself, all of which can be used to place your comments and your comment boxes. In this case, I can place a photograph or image, add an arrow, and select the location that it applies to. This serves two purposes. One, the designer can identify the issue that you're referring to. And two, the arrow allows them to know that there is an item being identified off of the page itself. The next button is actually the crop, where you can start manipulating the actual image if you need to crop the image within Bluebeam itself. And then your last item, which is typically used, is your line. Let's say there was an item that needed to be removed or changed. You can cross it out. You can manipulate the width of that line, change it to a solid line, a dashed line, or you can change the thickness of the line. At that point, you can either you add your comment using the pop-up and state why this needs to be removed or what it needs to be replaced with. Now that we have gone through the standard markup icons, and we've looked at the navigation icon, i.e. our bookmarks, we can also start looking at information regarding our view. Now, you can either use the View tab, where it gives you options of fit the page, or single page, or continuous page. For the purpose of our reviews, we prefer fit page or single page. That way, you have as much gray screen to work with as needed. In addition to that, you can also do a split screen. Now, the split screen can be done vertically or horizontally. What this allows you to do is that once you split the screen that is highlighted, as you can see, this one is in bright white, while this one is grayed back. The screen that's highlighted, i.e. bright white, that's the one that you are manipulating. So let's say you want to compare two images. In this case, we'll keep it on our typical sections and then move over to our construction plans if you wanted to verify whether they coincide. Similarly, you can also split the screen an additional time. And let's say you want to compare that with your signing and marking plans on the same sheet in the same location. Now, when you're doing this, at any time, whichever one you select, whichever one is highlighted, you can add comments to that particular sheet. Now, I will recommend that you do this type of work on a larger monitor if possible, as the more times you split the screen, the smaller the image becomes. And at this point, you can technically split the screen as many times as you need. If you have multiple monitors, you can also move a screen that you have split to a new monitor and have two separate monitors looking at different items. Now, once you are completed what you're doing with your split screen, you can return to the single screen by either clicking the closeout button on the screen that you're no longer working with, or you can go back to your view and just go to fit the screen one sheet. Now, as I stated before, your comments do not have to be on the screen itself, on the sheet itself. It can be on the gray area. However, if you're placing your comment in the gray area, please remember that when you are doing your comment box, that you change your fill to white. This will allow your comment to be as visible as possible for those who are reviewing the plans. This includes your engineering services rep, the PM, and the designer. This also allows your comment to be visible when we are going through the FPR plans at the meeting itself. For example, as you can see, we currently have this text box with the white fill. If I was to remove this white fill, your comment will become very hard to see. Hence the reason we say, if you're going to put your comment on the gray, ensure that you have the fill behind it to ensure that it is visible and it does stand out. And once again, as I stated before, you can change the font type, the font size, font color. Although our standard again is red. Now, as I stated before, you had your split screen vertical, split screen horizontal, your full page, your continuous page. Now, we currently have our pen. This allows us to zoom in and zoom out with your mouse. But if you click on your plan sheet, it also allows you to move the plan sheet as needed around the screen. You can also select text. This comes in handy when you're using your highlight icon, your highlight button, because you actually can select the text and indicate what you want to do with that piece of text. You also have your navigation buttons at the bottom, which will take you all the way to your first page, all the way to your last page, or navigating through each page individually. Now, one of the reasons why this is so beneficial for engineering services is that once you have added a comment, all your comments are listed in this markups menu. Now, typically, you'll have a button that will let you identify the markups. You click on that, or as you can see, my mouse has changed to an up-down arrow. Once you click that, it brings up that section at the bottom of your sheet that shows all your comments, the individual who provided the comments, the date and time the comment was provided, as well as the drawing number that the comment was provided on. When engineering services is creating a report using this information, what we will do, we'll take your comment exactly as it is, copy it, and place it into the report itself. So this also not only makes it easier on you for only having to supply your comment once, it makes it easier on engineering services that we can easily take your comment and directly place it into the report with very little editing. Again, when you place your comment in the plan set, you please be mindful that your comments should be able to stand alone without the plan set. In other words, if you identify a particular station, for example, if you needed to move this particular, if you wanted them to move this sign installation, when you add your comment should identify the station number that the sign installation is on. In this case, this is station 61 plus 18. You'll proceed with your comment. Shift installation to, and then provide the station number that you want it to be shifted to. For example, station 60. So that way, when we take this comment and put it into report, and the designer reviews the report, they can be able to identify exactly what is being stated, what signs installation is being referred to, and then if they need to review it and get further clarification, they can use the plan set to do so. Now, as it was stated at the beginning of this demonstration and of this PowerPoint presentation, This is a demo, and we're just giving you a few tips and tricks in using Bluebeam Studio and all its tools when submitting comments via Bluebeam Studio Review. If you need additional information, always remember that help is your friend. Under the Bluebeam Help tab, it has numerous items that you can go to, which is a welcome, a learn what's new, you even have a Bluebeam review tutorial that goes into this information. In addition to the Bluebeam Help tab, Google is also your friend. If there is something that you would like to try in Bluebeam, or you're curious as to whether or not Bluebeam Studio can provide this option, you can simply go onto Google and type in how to blank in Bluebeam Studio. And more than likely, a video will come up walking you through how to use Bluebeam Studio in that manner, step by step. At this time, I'll turn it back over to Walt, and he'll give you a little bit information about Teams and other items that we may use to help you with Bluebeam Studio.
Another resource for you to use for Bluebeam Review is there's a GDOT on Teams. There is an actual, under GDOT Community Learning, there is a Bluebeam Community Learning team, I guess, for lack of a better word. And you have to be invited to this, but as you look at this demonstration, if you have any questions or want to be added to this, you can shoot me an email and we'll try to get you added. But this is another resource. Just FYI, as you can see under here, there's a few of these different communities. Most of you guys probably already know about this. As we've started using Teams more and more, it's a pretty big resource in general, not just for Bluebeam, but you can see the other teams there as well. But this is another resource. And I'm just going to add, as we wrap up this demonstration, if you have any questions, I wanted to provide this information. You can shoot me or Tanisha an email. These are our email addresses. And don't hesitate to ask any questions, make any comments, or let us know things that you found out. Again, this is a brand new process for all of us. And Tanisha's tips and tricks are very good, and I think it's it's good information for you to start using Bluebeam. But as you start to use it, you may find things that we don't know about. So let us know. And again, thank you for watching this, and hopefully, as we move forward with Bluebeam, it'll be helpful for all of us. Thank you.